All right, everybody. So today we have a very special guest with us. He's standing at 6'4" from West Palm Beach, Florida, originally. Now in Los Angeles, pursuing his career in acting. We have Ray Buffer. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot for jumping on, Ray. So you're an actor in Los Angeles today. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm actually technically in Long Beach, which is close enough to LA, but also far enough from LA.
Very nice, Long Beach. How long have you been in Los Angeles for? Now, what's the extent of your acting career? Did it begin out here in California?
Yeah, no, I moved out here in 2000. I started at probably the age of 13 in Florida, doing mostly theater, musical theater. That's where my studies were. And I continued to work in regional theater, dinner theaters in South Florida. And then I spent my final 5 years in Florida, in Orlando, surrounded by theme parks and theaters, where I steadily worked contract to contract, either as an actor, doing musical theater, legit theater, or as a stage manager. And then I moved out and actually lived in Huntington Beach for a while in 2000.
Very nice. So originally theatrically trained. You did a lot of theaters, a lot of the real work. You know, people who don't understand with plays, there's a lot of rehearsals. There's a lot more that goes into perfecting the craft. There's not that in film, but maybe just there's just a lot more rehearsal, and you got to really know the script to the verbatim.
You do. There's long runs and not nearly as much pay as in film and TV. Which makes it hard now for me to do theater because I get offers and I see these runs, but you know, with all the rehearsals and all the performances, it's like I think of all the film and TV jobs I'd have to turn down that probably pay just as much for one day as 3 months of work in theater. So it's hard following that passion now that I'm here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen, even in my own experience, it's been a difficult transition for the friends that were well more trained than some of the other guys, but just that transition, all that time putting into the theater and then trying to then do the film thing, it's an interesting balance. There needs to be more money into theater because I think we're starting to need something different, and I think we all like live performance, and a lot of people just, when they get into that environment, it takes you into a different place. There's something about the theater and live performance.
Yeah, you know, and it's hard being a theatrical producer because I was also one of those for a while. After I moved here in 2000, I kind of did my own survival jobs for a while. I got into the TV film industry, did a little stint on Curb Your Enthusiasm, really thought my career was going to take off, and it didn't. So I got back into some survival jobs, gave it about 7 or 8 years, and then I got tired of that. So then I started producing theater, first in San Pedro with a company called The Relevant Stage out of the Warner Grand Theater, and then later with Art and Relation with a business partner in Long Beach.
This was born out of, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ray. Was this born out of necessity to keep working? You said you did Curb. You wanted it to keep, that's not uncommon. You do something huge. A lot of people, I know, I just heard a guy said he was on the new Sopranos remake. He thought the same thing. He said, I thought being on this, my phone was going to blow up. You got nothing, you know? So it's an interesting
Sometimes I think when you believe in it too much, it just kind of sinks. And so I kind of have a pessimistic attitude. Expect the least and you don't get disappointed. You know, I've learned when I audition for something, I just throw it out there. I throw the sides away. I forget that I auditioned for it. So that 2 weeks later, if I get a call back or I get a booking, I'm like, okay, what is this for? I completely forgot about this project. And that's healthy for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a lot to say about that and lots of aspects in life. Sometimes you have to separate the art from the artist. You have to sort of, even though it's an artistic endeavor, it very much is business, right? At least if you're trying to make it in a monetary sense and make a living off of this, it very much is like do I meet what they need? A lot of time those breakdowns say exactly what they need, and we find ourselves trying to fit the triangle into the circle. And it's like, as long as you can allow yourself to just do the audition and put your best foot forward and then move forward, the mind can stay at a more how do you say it, like at a more mellow pace. The temperature doesn't rise up, it doesn't go, it's a roller coaster doing this, and
Managing your expectations, right? And I think, yeah, you're right. They do specify what they're looking for, but sometimes the casting directors don't even know what they're looking for. They're echoing something they hear from their client or the producer, and then all of a sudden the producer is finicky or fickle, and they change their mind, and they change the sex of the character, or they change the race of the character, or the height, or the size, and things change on a dime. So sometimes you don't get a part, not because you didn't match what they asked for, but because what they asked for changes. So you have to put all that in perspective, and so that's what I try to do. But answering your question, the reason I started those theater companies was I just believe I'm a kind of a right-left brain person. For a while, I have to do something analytical and money-making and steady and secure, and then I get bored of that, and I flip-flop back to the left brain stuff where I have to be creative and artistic and maybe not make any money, but just get it out of my system. And so that's kind of the kind of back and forth I've gone through up until just before the pandemic. I'd say about a year before the pandemic, I kind of went full tilt into the artistic, pursuing this career kind of side of things. And I think because now I found a balance where I can have like 5 survival jobs that are extremely flexible around the auditions and around the bookings. I don't think I'll ever go back to a full-time survival job. I think I'm kind of here to stay.
Very nice. I was about to ask, how long have you been reinforcing this sort of state of going all in on the work and then all in on the art? That's a good balance to have. Some people might not understand it, but the funny thing about life is it's not tailor-made, meaning it's not the same for everybody. You can't use a cookie-cutter approach for anybody. So if it works for you, it works for you. It's nobody's business. So that's very...
2018, I'd say, is probably when I started full tilt with a manager and an agent, and just daily submissions, and starting the audition process, and then into COVID with all the self tapes, because the whole industry changed with COVID. So and I actually benefited. I actually, an article was written about me, just how much I worked during COVID, as opposed to some other actors who were just totally shut down. I don't know the reason, but I worked a lot during the pandemic, and I'm grateful for it. I actually went dry when things opened up at the beginning of this year, January, February, March, or not this year, I'm sorry, last year, 2021. I forget we're in 22 now. But January, February, March of last year, I was kind of like cold. Didn't get any castings or any bookings, and then it picked up again in April. So there's no rhyme or reason. I think it just depends, like you say, the time of day and the temperature, and who knows
what keeps you going, Ray? Like you said, there was almost a year, not only for you, but lots of people. What keeps you constantly going, and especially at that time, right? Necessity is mother of all creation. When it gets really stressful at times, when it gets just chaotic, you get really creative at times, and I've heard this interesting thing where they say, if the less issues you have, maybe from a monetary perspective, because that involves, having to keep a roof over your head. Once you're able to either have that part of your life covered or just ignore it, the art is able to be fully attended to. And that's the funny thing about life, because how often are you able to get that off your mind? But it really is that point where you sort of are like a child playing in a playground, and that's sort of what you need at a certain point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I still have rent to pay, I still have bills, but I seem to be at a point now where, between the little part-time jobs I do to kind of fill the void, in addition to the bookings I get, and when eventually the managers and the agents get their commission and the check rolls in and I get mine, I'm able to keep my head above water. And so, knock on wood, hopefully that will continue, and hopefully it will increase. But again, managing expectations, I'm trying to not get my hopes up because I don't want to be disappointed, I suppose.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of my old baseball coaches at the time, I didn't know if it was a good advice, but he was like, what I always used to tell my friends, and what my mom said, or what I used to tell my mom, he said was, he'd always aim for straight D's, so that if he ever got the C, he said he would get the ice cream on the way home. And I thought that was really funny because there was a lot to say about his perspective. He was a really mellow guy, but I think I did get something from that. I saw what he was saying, but you got to strive for great things always, but at the same time, back to what we were saying, best foot forward, and then let it go.
Yeah, stepping forward. I mean, that's really something. In terms of like motivational thinking, I think baby steps is the answer. I think you've always got to do something each and every day to propel what it is you want one step forward or two steps forward or whatever you can do. But every day do something, because if you don't do anything, or you talk yourself down, oh, it's never going to happen. Oh, I'm not going to achieve this goal. So I'm not going to put any effort into moving it forward. Then obviously you're not going to achieve the goal, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So
Absolutely.
you've got to be the one that actually takes at least a little step forward every day, and then forget about it and go to the next day and take another little step forward. But eventually something will happen if you're persistent.
Eliminate that negative self-talk and just live like whoever you want to be lives like. That's it, right? Just do exactly that every day, because then you are that person. You're not fabricating anything. That imposter syndrome gets a little bit shortened. There's less imposter syndrome because you're not. It's like I've played the guitar for over 20 years, and it's when I'm able to just say, it's like you put 10 minutes, 5 minutes into it, and you're like, okay, that's it. You don't feel so bad. You don't expect certain things out of certain things. It's sort of like I'm able to attribute that to anything. It's like, just do something every day.
And I think work begets work. So when people see that you're working, more offers come your way. And so, it's all about also promoting yourself, and I think diversification, and finding a way to diversify in a way that it still propels your goals forward. So, I'm a musician, I'm a singer, I'm a voiceover artist, I'm, I guess, a model when I need to be. But whatever it is that I need to do to work, all of that can be funneled into my career goals, right? So, for instance, I have a gig coming up where I'm going to sit down as a model with prosthetic makeup as Frankenstein's monster from Universal Pictures for an artist named Anastasia, who's going to be doing this exhibit on emotions and universal monsters. Well, that's a gig. I'll have pictures of me in Frankenstein makeup. I've done Frankenstein before. I've done Santa Claus before. There are some repeat characters that seem to come my way, but this will expand my portfolio. And someone along the way, just like Anastasia probably saw a California Walnuts commercial I did where I played Frankenstein, which, probably influenced her to hire me to model for her. Someone will see the picture she takes of me, and maybe I'll get a Frankenstein gig somewhere else. So work begets work. And so I try to look big picture, and I also try to take roles that diversify me. You mentioned I'm 6'4". It's hard sometimes to get work. Sometimes I only get thugs or security guards or, heavies or bad guys. And so to get someone to look at me a different way, I show them a Santa Claus picture and they say, okay, well, maybe he's soft and cuddly, but you have to also show it in other ways. So I'll do student films that stretch me, that expand my portfolio. I just did one for LA Film School where I played a French retired record producer. So here I get to show a French accent. I get to show that I can be like this neutral kind of character, a nurturing character, not just a bad guy or a bully. So those are the kind of things I look at. And if I have a void to fill and I'm not getting, big bucks to do a commercial, then I'll do a student film and I'll diversify how people perceive me.
You never know what those opportunities will bring. I have worked many free jobs in my life, and many of those free jobs have brought into fruition paying jobs NBA commercial, like insane, just because they were either appreciative or because they like your work. The more eyes you see, more hands you shake, there's just naturally more opportunities are being presented for you.
Yeah, and many of these student films now are paying, and they have contracts with SAG-AFTRA. So, it's kind of a win-win. It's really it's just another form of work. It's just going to be seen by a different audience. They might show it to their faculty and students, and then it may also go to film festivals, and it might be up on YouTube. But it's it's a different audience, a different vehicle.
Very nice. What's next for you, Ray? What is the plan thus far? You mentioned you've done some huge things. You're constantly working. You've managed to find a place where you're able to manage having all these different jobs, which is natural for an actor out here. You can't, be involved in another business for 40, 50, 60 hours and expect it. Yeah, you need a job that can allow you freedom first and foremost. However you do that is, again, you do.
Yeah, I mean, being middle-aged now, it's actually kind of funny because even in my early 20s, I was playing middle-aged roles. Because being a tall and big guy, they would age me. They would put me in the older roles. So I really have about 35 years experience playing 50-year-olds.
Does that make you happy, or does that get you mad that you didn't play enough young guy things when you could? It's funny when you're like wanting to look older, and then when you're like, oh snap, missed it.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have any feelings either way about it. It is who I am. It is how people see you. So yeah, I think you just have to take it and roll with it.
Well, I think most people would take a skincare routine from you either way, Ray. Whatever you're doing seems to be working. So you're managing. My question, Ray, was what's next? The year's just started. Your plan is to go all in on just whatever opportunities present, while also maintaining spiritual mental health. You think?
Yeah, I think in a way to answer that is. One of the challenges I'm having, I mentioned that, when I audition, I throw away the sides and forget about the audition. But one of the challenges I'm having now, because I'm building this reservoir of experience that can help promote myself, is having that same amount of patience for the projects coming out. Sometimes you film stuff and it never comes out. Sometimes you shoot something and it ends up on the editing floor. Or they cut it from a project. So managing my patience now is like, I know I've filmed a bunch of stuff, but I haven't seen it yet. And that was actually the case with a Vroom commercial that I did recently. I actually shot it back in June, and June, July, August, September, October comes around. Still haven't seen it on TV. I'm like, oh man, this thing's never coming out. But then all of a sudden, month of December, most football games that commercial's playing, and I'm getting like all these instant messages from everyone like, hey, I just saw you, I'm in New York, hey, I just saw you in Paris, and I haven't actually seen it in the wild. I haven't seen it on TV playing. I've watched it on YouTube, but it's cool. And so managing that expectation, I was in Bullet Train, the big Brad Pitt movie that's been postponed in terms of release. But I play a Russian thug in that. And there were some really nice beauty shots in which I'm featured. And I'm hoping, that might be an opportunity if that makes it in the movie. But you never know. You never know what, once you've done the work and you've gotten the paycheck, you never know what's actually going to make it to the screen. So waiting to see how those things play out and how they can propel me forward is part of the answer to your question. The other part is just continuing what I'm doing, just putting myself out there in every way that I can figure to put myself out there, and saying yes to the right opportunities.
Very nice, very nice. Well, we're very appreciative. You're doing podcasting. You're all over the place. You're on IMDb. You're on YouTube. You're on national television. I don't know how many podcasts you've done, but you're on podcasts. It's you seem to be. Are you on TikTok? Are you a TikToker?
No, I have a TikTok account. I think I've done one TikTok, but I probably should. I looked at you guys. You guys have your own big TikTok page, so yeah, I might have to blow up my social media a little bit more. But
I'll tell you, Ray, when you do that Frankenstein thing, send me some pictures, because I know a guy who does monster movies. He's a monster stunt guy, and I'm sure it can get you connected if it's all appropriate. And everybody likes to meet people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a comic book geek, so I mean, I was a featured extra back in the day in the original Hulk movie with Ang Lee. But I'd love to do more Marvel, DC films. I'd love to do Star Trek. I love those prosthetic roles. I don't mind, and I have the features for it. That's why I've gotten it in the past. But I don't mind sitting in a makeup chair for 4 hours and playing a character that's a little covered up. I think that's actually a better challenge for an actor, is to actually exude the character through the makeup. So, yeah, I love those kind of roles.
Right on. All right, very nice. Well, Ray, we're very appreciative of you jumping onto the show today. Let's get you on again back in the future and catch up with you. It's been a great pleasure to get to know you a little bit. I'm sure the audience is going to love this, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ray. Likewise.
Mm-hmm.